Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into a very impromptu live stream because we had the opportunity for a very special guest, Mr. Jason Hartman, someone we've known for years, someone we have made money together in real estate. He does a lot of good business, a lot of good deals. But the best thing about Jason Hartman, this guy breaks things down. I saw you speak at the Family Mastermind, and I told you after that, I'm like, bro, that was like the most legit explanation of the real estate market, of interest rates, of why the real estate market's not crashing anytime soon. And this was years ago. And this
Yeah,
is when everybody was like, oh, yeah, the market's going to crash. You've always stood the stance of like, no, we're not going to crash, guys. Things
yeah.
are. You've stayed true to that. So we're getting into real estate with somebody who's very, very seasoned in what's going on in the markets. And if you don't follow Jason Hartman, his YouTube channel is just called Jason Hartman. And
Actually, Jason Hartman, Empowered Investor. Yeah.
yep, that's what I got. It's at Jason Hartman, Empowered Investor. And RJ, how we doing? How's the vibe?
The vibe is alive, and we're going to share, Jason's website. You can be able to connect with him. I'm super excited to get this because I got some not so real estate related questions. I'm so curious about your lifestyle, Jason, because it's amazing. Because you're always traveling into these amazing spots. I think you're 99 countries.
Yeah,
99
99.
countries.
Not
How do
quite
you
100. I'm
freaking-
one away.
How do you
What?
freaking do that? Where are you right now? Are you in a
I
yacht?
am
Are you
currently,
in, where are you?
yeah, well, if you're looking at the video and not just listening on audio, obviously I'm in my hotel room and I am here in Bogota, Colombia right now. And
Bogota.
tomorrow I'm on my way to Lima, Peru. And, on this trip so far, on this sort of South America tour I'm doing, I haven't hit any new countries yet, but I have hit some new cities.
Okay. So
So
this
kind of
is
nice.
so Colombia and Peru is are places you've already visited, but now you're
Already
going
been, yeah.
into so now you're getting into some other cities, which is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just to
I
even get
I
to
haven't been to Bogota before. I haven't been to Lima, but I have been to both countries. And then after this, I head to after Lima, I'm going to Santiago, Chile, and then to Easter Island, the most remote,
oh
exotic
man,
place in the world.
you can still go there, huh? I didn't know you could
You
even go there anymore.
You can.
Um,
There's only one flight, and I think they only do it every other day. I noticed some days there's no flights, so
mm,
I think it's
We
only
could
every other day.
literally talk about Easter Island and talk about ancient aliens because I'm a huge supporter of that, and we're
Yeah.
looking at these heads. Easter Island's much known for their giant, megalithic structures and things of
Yeah.
that nature. But I'm excited to hear about that trip. I want to get into this stuff. We got you here for a little time. And you've
Sure.
been outspoken in your support for President Trump, correct?
Yeah, the first term, I had my doubts about him. I think he was, honestly kind of immature. I mean, I don't know that anybody would totally disagree with that. It seems like he was picking a lot of dumb fights that you didn't need to pick. And even running up to this last election, I mean, he did win 3 times, so that's pretty incredible. I mean, I'm pretty sure he won the 2020 election too, but that's another topic. And even leading up to this, he got in a fight with DeSantis. I'm like, why are you getting in a fight with DeSantis? I mean, I love
yeah.
DeSantis. I think he's great. But anyway, look, the bottom line is, I think he had 4 years to really figure it out. Those 4 years off, and I think he is Trump 2.0 is phenomenal. I think he is knocking it out of the park. I think 95% of his decisions so far, it's still very early, are really good decisions. And it's not going to be without some pain, guys. He's a disruptor. There are big, big, monumental changes going on with U.S. policy, foreign and domestic, and there's going to be some bumps in the road. I mean, look, a lot of unemployed government slackers, are going to have to somehow try and get a new job. They're probably not very qualified, most of them, sadly. But the tariffs are going to have giant impacts, even threats of tariffs. And deportations of millions of people, that's going to leave a hole in the economy. I mean, it's overall, I think all of this is great for the country. But there's going to be some short-term pain.
So I got a question. Where do you, I'm just curious out of my own genuine curiosity, where do you label yourself? What do you call yourself? A libertarian, would you say? I mean, you're
Yeah,
kind of,
I'd say most honestly, I'm a libertarian. And I hate to say it because it sounds so cliche. I mean,
right.
everybody says it, right? I'm fiscally conservative, socially liberal. Like I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not as socially liberal as the crazy shit we saw the last 4 years, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, I'm into freedom. I mean, I think people should be able to do what they want to do as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
Yeah.
What's your take on Elon Musk? I mean, here's the thing. I got to look at it from both sides of the coin here. You got the richest man in the world rubbing elbows with the most powerful man in the world. I mean, are we to be so naive to think this is out of the kindness of his heart that he wants to make America great again? And this rich and powerful multi-billionaire is now finding his way into the Oval Office. I mean, what's up with all this stuff?
Well, I mean, look, like, I mean, does anybody really think there's some huge financial gain for Elon? I mean, certainly not with Doge, but in general, yeah. If I mean, look, it's interesting because Trump, is against EVs, right? And he owns Tesla, the biggest EV company in the world, right? So, it's I don't know. I think he's driven more by just ego in that he wants to make a difference and ego in a good way. Okay, his ego. He wants to leave a legacy, he wants to have impact, and he might financially benefit from some things. It's really complicated. I mean, when you have $300 billion or so and your hands are in so many different businesses, yeah, some might benefit, some might suffer. I don't know. They would have happened anyway. Even if stupid Kamala was president.
There isn't a financial gain, and that's something we should kind of clear up. So I listen to it all, man. I'm on the right, I'm on the left, because as a spokesperson of what's happening in the world, I like to hear all sides.
Yeah.
And there's actually not a financial gain. I mean, a lot of people on the left are saying, "Oh, these big government contracts." Well, those were actually given to him, not in the Trump.
Those were in the Biden administration.
Those were in the Biden
Yeah,
administration. And then, I mean, when you look at it, he's alienating 50% of his customers with these moves he's making with the government. So he's actually taking a financial hit.
I agree. I mean, I think he's motivated by just impact. He wants to clean up government and make a difference and go down in history.
So there's a lot of people hating on Elon these days, but you think it's a good thing what they're doing?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, how could anybody think otherwise unless the only people who would think otherwise are the people who were benefiting from the old system, from the swamp. Okay, the government workers who've been slacking and doing fucking nothing for their whole careers. They've been hiding out in some government office, trading on that new, the leaks about the new message board with all the sexual talk and stuff. I mean, they're using government communication channels for it's absurd. These people have just been hiding and no one's been holding them accountable for anything. I mean, if they had to get a job in the private sector, there's no way any private sector person with half a brain would employ them. Okay, so it's going to hurt for them getting laid off and so forth and getting held accountable, but it's going to make them better people. And that's what they need to be. They need to become better people. It's just like when I mean, look, when you were a little kid and your parents would discipline you, right? You didn't like it, but it made you a better person probably, right? They told you, get your shit together. And you probably did. You probably rose to the occasion. And these people, most of them will, some won't. And then, who could be against getting rid of government waste? I mean, look at all the stuff that's coming out. That's massive amount of corruption. The people just on the take. These corrupt politicians. These pet projects for just silly things. I mean, around the world that we've just been doling out money to all this absolute epic stupidity. So I'm definitely in favor of a much smaller government. I think a way to look at it would be like this. Just visualize a 10-story high-rise building. Okay, I mean, not a super high-rise, but just 10 stories, right? Everybody mostly agrees that the first 3 stories, in other words, if you consider that to be the government we can see, the police, the fire department, basic services, and then at a federal level, defense and so forth, right? The government, we can see, we're mostly all in support of that. The problem is there's 7 floors above of this. It's just the administrative state. It's the deep administrative state, and they basically do almost nothing to help the country. They're just on the take. They're just taking for themselves, and that needs to go.
And these all people were employed during the first Trump administration, right? I mean, there was a lot of waste going on, a lot of spending going on. So it's just kind of all abruptly coming out now. And I think that's like a distinction between his second term and his first term too. There's a lot of
He didn't have Elon and the suggestion of the Doge idea back then, and so this is a whole new world. And remember, Trump came into office in 2016. I mean, he didn't know how to be a politician. He knew nothing about it. So now he's seasoned.
It's almost like a lot of the things he spoke about and ran on in his first term, as far as draining the swamp and whatnot. Immigration was a big thing, and everybody was talking about the wall back then. But it seems like he's kind of executing that now. So I want to talk about Bitcoin a little bit, and then I'm going to send it over to RJ. He's going to segue this into real estate, but the Trump trade. So Trump he spoke in Miami at the big Bitcoin conference. This is politics, guys. He's out there saying he's like in support of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Have you heard of that conversation?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I saw Eric Trump speak in Abu Dhabi. I was at a Bitcoin conference there just a couple of months ago, and they're very supportive of crypto. I think that was politically pretty smart to just pick up a whole new group of voters that the Democrats were alienating. And look, my position on Bitcoin has never changed. When I first learned about it in maybe 2011, it was $74. And it was hard for me to get my head around it and to understand it. And, I would love nothing more than to see it succeed wildly. I would love to see a currency of the people, for the people, that's not controlled by some central planners, central banks and governments and so forth. But I think there is big cause for concern, because Bitcoin does not have a standing army. Governments do. No. Central banks and governments are like this. They are intertwined, inextricably. And, it could go down the tubes. It could soar. I don't know. I think nobody really knows. I hope it does great, but I don't know.
Wouldn't Bitcoin reserve like control it though? Wouldn't it act like the Federal Reserve, or is it something completely different?
No.
It is completely different, but
what they're talking about with that is any Bitcoin. I think this is what it's going to be, just to kind of let you know what I'm reading, is any Bitcoin confiscated from illegal activities will be held by the government and not be sold. So that's just going to kind of stabilize the price of Bitcoin. That's what it would be. Like a strategic reserve is like an oil strategic reserve, right? You store oil. So if there's a shortage of oil, the country has a strategic reserve of oil for the people and stuff like that. They're talking about reserve by the government. The Bitcoiners want the federal government. It's so funny because Bitcoin started when you first got into Bitcoin. It was all anti-government, right? It's the ultimate thing. But now they, of course, they're rooting for the federal government to spend printed money on Bitcoin because that would make the price go up and whatnot. But that's what they're talking about. Here's my thing on the whole crypto/Trump thing. I don't think we should have politicians pumping shit coins after the election. I mean, what's your take on Trump coin, Melania coin? Eric Trump on X today telling people to buy the dip. I think they should stay out of this. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah. Well, buy the dip in Bitcoin, he said, right? I did not.
Correct. He's talking about
because look, what everybody has to realize is there's Bitcoin and then there's everything else. They're completely different. Bitcoin is in a class by itself. Okay, it's totally in a class by itself. But I don't know. You're probably right. I mean, he shouldn't be like making market moves like that. But other. I don't know. How much have other presidents commented on things like the stock market over the years? I mean,
I don't think very much.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what is my question? I don't
Yeah,
really know. I haven't studied that, so that's an interesting point. But yeah, I'm sure they own a lot of it personally, and I definitely am not too into the idea of them creating their own coins and stuff like that.
it's a bad look.
That's not Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin's a completely different animal than everything else.
RJ, send us into real estate here. Let's talk interest rates. Let's talk Fed. What do you got?
Yeah, well, we all want to know. Let's start with the what affects a lot of our construction and tariffs, right? And so, can you speak upon that, like what they're trying to do and what has already occurred with tariffs and how it'll affect us? You sell real estate, we're selling real estate, and obviously we got to fix these things, and we got to use our what's in front of us to kind of maneuver around that. But where do you see this going, Jason? Where can this affect it? Where can we benefit?
Well, there's two major issues with Trump that will cause significant upward pressure on housing prices. And one is, of course, the tariffs, like you mentioned. I mean, look, you always need to look at a house or an apartment building or any building as the component parts, the ingredients to that building, right? And so for a house, what do you have, right? You have lumber, you have concrete, you have copper wire in the walls, you have a whole bunch of appliances and doorknobs and hinges and all of these things. And if you increase the price of these things, it will increase the price of the aggregate finished house, of course.
Yeah.
So when you look at like let's look at, for example, home building inputs in 2024, right? And how heavily they rely on China. Okay, small appliances. Almost 80% of those appliances come from China that are in a new house today. Okay, so if you increase the price of those by 25%, I mean, what do you think? Of course, they're going to pass that to the home buyer, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, when you take major and minor household appliances, more than 80%. Okay, hardware. Think of all the little pieces of hardware in a house. The wood products, plumbing fixtures, glass products. It is, all of this says upward pressure on prices and rents, because the builders just won't build unless they can make a profit. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they have to pass that cost through to the consumers. What's so funny in all these dumb discussions and debates that we've publicly had over the years, take minimum wage, for example, right? All the Democrats say, well, we got to raise minimum wage. And, that all sounds good on the surface, but what do you think all these company executives sit back and say, okay, I'll just take a pay cut so we can pay more to the minimum wage workers, right? They don't do that. They just increase the prices, obviously. We all know that if we have any brains. And so this is the same thing. It's every company, home builder, corporation, landlord, they're all pass-through entities. They pass the cost down the line to the renter, the home buyer. So that means upward pressure on prices for sure. And there's one more big factor, but you probably want to pop in there with something.
I want something. Well, first off, real quick, we got at Jason Hartman, Empowered Investor. Get on this guy's YouTube channel. Where are you at? 87,000 subscribers. I watch your videos, bro. I get a lot of what I talk about on the day-to-day from Jason Hartman. This guy's taught me tons of stuff. So make sure you follow him on YouTube and on all social media platforms. I want to talk about home builders, and I want to talk about Florida and Texas specifically, because those were the big COVID boom towns, right? Everybody, you had mentioned DeSantis earlier in the show. He's doing a great job. You look at how Florida is run compared to many other states, and they're like a well-oiled machine. They're killing it. They killed it through COVID. So many people were moving there. Well, the builders, do you feel they're overbuilding? Have you been following this at all? Because builders have not slowed down, but there's actually there's migrating out of Florida now, seeking affordability. We're kind of seeing that rotation too. Are you following that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, like any boom town, right? Everything has a business cycle to it. Florida was the hottest thing. It was the prettiest girl at the dance. Okay. And Florida got a little bit over its skis. It's not a big deal. Florida still has a fantastic future. And I don't know if you heard this yet, but both Florida and Tennessee have serious efforts right now to eliminate property taxes.
Ooh.
Did you hear that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Look it up. There are serious political moves going on right now to eliminate property tax in Florida. DeSantis made a speech about it. He said, it's not fair, basically, that you don't really ever own your home because you have property taxes forever.
Yeah.
And Tennessee is doing the same thing. If those states eliminate property taxes, values will soar. And think about that. If we look at all the 50 states as a marketplace, right? Like you choose based on what's, money always goes where it's treated best. So do people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where are Californians and New Yorkers going to go? They're going to go to Florida. Okay. I mean, they have exorbitant property taxes. Now in California, technically it's, as a percentage wise, it's actually pretty reasonable thanks to Howard Jarvis and Prop 13 way back in 1978. But, the prices are so high that the actual dollars you spend on property taxes in California are insane. Okay. Even though the percentage is reasonably low. And if Tennessee and Florida have this, I mean, they are just going to outcompete every other state. And now other states will be forced to compete with them by offering similar incentives. So it's going to be phenomenal. One other thing I wanted to mention, guys, that Dave, you were asking me about, the home builders and stuff. The other big upward pressure on prices with housing is the labor component.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big. Think about it. Do you know the average construction worker now is almost 50 years old? Okay. These are not in the past, these construction workers were like, early 20s swinging hammers, building houses, right? And the construction industry is largely populated by illegals. Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of illegal immigrants doing construction and home maintenance and stuff like that. If you take them out of the country, that is going to increase the cost of labor massively, and it's just going to reduce the amount of home building that can be done. It's going to reduce the overall supply. So that means upward pressure.
It's an amazing point. If so, home builders are getting smoked right now, everybody. While Jason was talking, I just pulled up the markets. Lennar, big home builder, national home builder, in the last 6 months is down 30.94%. KB Homes in the last 6 months down 27.16%. Toll Brothers in the last 6 months down 24.31%. I mean, it's getting ugly out there for the builders. With the upward pressure of pricing and with interest rates we got to get into interest rates a little bit here with you, Jason, but are there buyers for these homes? Do they have to come down on their prices? Is there any money to be made for home builders with the upward pricing of labor and material and then interest rates where they're at? How do home builders make money right now?
Well, they got to have people buying their homes. So remember, a lot of people are forgetting in this whole tariff discussion that the whole point of tariffs, this is the real point of tariffs, which nobody seems to actually be talking about. The point of a tariff is to bring that manufacturing back to the country instituting the tariff.
Right.
Okay. So that means more higher paying jobs in the United States. Okay. And if you look at, left-wing liberal Apple, they've already, they've already given in to the Trump tariff threats, not even real tariffs, just the threat of it.
Right.
And they are going to hire over the next 4 years, 20,000 new American workers. They're investing like massive amounts of money in American manufacturing because, if all of their stuff coming from China gets tariffed, or Mexico gets, they were going to do all of this in Mexico. That was Apple's plan until Trump. So we are already seeing the benefits of bringing those jobs to America and all of that economic stimulation to America too. That's the point of tariffs. So it just takes some time. Okay, it takes a while for this all to happen. And phone call. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
It's all good.
If you want to talk for a minute, let me handle it. Okay, I'll be back.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Hartman is a man of mystery here, and he might be getting. It's like the bat signal goes off for this guy. But yeah,
sorry guys.
Impromptu. we are kind of putting a bow on this thing. We are getting ready. We've been going for 24 minutes, but RJ, you had questions about interest rates, and I know Jason speaks quite a bit about that. RJ, what else you got here for Jason to round this thing up?
Let's are there going to be any advantages from a tax standpoint for real estate investors now that Trump is in office and they're doing I've read about some of the things that they're trying to bring back and keep, and the whole thing about the depreciation, which is just a tax savings for us. Do you see more of a push there to keep those things in place? Because I know they were trying to in the past administration, they were trying to remove certain things that would be advantageous for us investors, like the 1031 exchange.
Yeah, so, well, that's a great question. And look, Trump has made no bones about it. He wants to eliminate the IRS, and he wants to replace it with the ERS, the External Revenue Service, rather than the Internal Revenue Service. Yeah. And he wants the government to be funded by tariffs. Okay,
let's go. It's crazy.
And if you all the tariffs need to get a clue. Okay, we need this manufacturing. We saw this during COVID and these supply chain disruptions. We need this manufacturing to come back to the US. Okay, we are the biggest consumer market on earth by a huge margin. Why shouldn't we charge companies for admission to our market? I mean, I would if I ran the government. It's just totally reasonable to have some tariffs, okay, to make the playing field more level. So that's all part of it. As far as the tax code, the real estate industry, as you both know, have a giant lobby. Okay, and this is not likely to be easily given up. But if some of these things do go away, if some of the incentives do go away, it will be the result of an overall lower cost of tax. Okay, and it's been pretty much proven throughout history that no matter what the tax rate is and what the exemptions are and the benefits, that if you look overall in the aggregate, you look at the GDP of the country, the gross domestic product, the size of the economy, and you compare it to the tax revenue, it'll be about 19%, no matter what. No matter who's president, no matter what the tax policy is at the time, people are only willing to part with about 19% of their money and give it to the government, okay? And if you compare it to church, I mean, look, God only wants 10%. If God can survive on 10%, the government can survive on 20%. Right, okay? Yeah. And so, maybe capital gains tax will go away, right? And you don't need a 1031 exchange if you don't have capital gains tax. Right. So if there's no capital gains tax, investors are just going to have more money in their pocket. So who cares if there's a 1031 exchange, right? They're just going to have more money. So it's going to grow the economy.
When, this is like the straight up capitalistic mentality. When an investor has more money, they can create more jobs. They can invest more, reinvest those gains into creating businesses. Yeah, it's a good thing. We're very pro-capitalism, as I'm sure you imagine. But Mr. Jason Hartman, we got a couple people in the comments just saying, hey, they're wishing you safe travels here. And everybody, if you do not watch Jason Hartman's YouTube channel, you're missing out, because the guy's full of content. I get tons of value from this guy. He's got great guests as well. So we're very honored to have you on here. And you find him on YouTube, Jason Hartman, Empowered Investor. He's also big on Instagram. Watch a lot of your shorts and reels and content there. Any final thoughts here? Any burning desires or final thoughts that you have for the audience today, Jason?
Hey, if I can just mention one more thing, semi-promotional, we have a live event coming up. It's been 2 years since we did a live event, and we have one coming up in Irvine, California, early April. Just go to empoweredinvestorlive.com if you'd like to join us live, meet some great speakers. We got Sharon Lecter, Tom Wheelwright, Mike Maloney, who's just a expert on monetary policy and monetary
He's a
history.
beast.
Really
He's big in the silver business, right? He's big in the
Yeah,
metals,
so
right? I've been following
and
that guy
it,
for a while. I might want to meet that guy. I might be coming to
yeah,
this thing, man.
come on out, guys.
Mike
We'd love to
Maloney's
see
Invest.
you.
cool. I like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first. We've had Sharon Lechter and Tom Wheelwright speak at several of our events before, but this is the first time we've had Mike Maloney. So it's going to be a great event. EmpoweredInvestorLive.com. We'd love to see you there. And hotels only. It's a beautiful, brand new remodeled hotel, and it's a gorgeous hotel, and it's only $199 per night. So the conference is really a great deal. You won't spend a lot coming to this one.
It's on the screen, ladies and gents. Live event, EmpoweredInvestorLive.com. RJ, bring us home.
Love seeing you, Jason. Thank you guys for listening. You guys can connect with Jason here, EmpoweredInvestorLive.com, and also on all of his socials. You can check out his websites, just jasonhartman.com. It's been a pleasure, Jason. I'm going to be following your stories, so make sure you take some good video. I'm going to be kind of traveling through your eyes, through your stories. So we appreciate you, man. It's good to kind of catch up and see where you're
it's
at.
great to catch up with you guys. You know, I see you on social media, but it's been a while since we actually talked. So it's great to talk to you again.
Awesome.
All right.
All my best, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday, 11/11. Thanks again, Jason, and safe travel, sir.